Okay, this is 5.7, get to the point, and this is a solidify understanding task. Now, the core math ideas today will be we're going to use linear equations to represent cost functions, and that's going to be an application of our concepts today. We're going to solve systems of equations by using substitution, graphing, and elimination. So we're going to learn every method to solve a system of equations, and we're also going to represent a linear function with a table. A lot of good algebra today. All right, so here's our situation. Sunshine Express window cleaners charges $50 for each service call plus $10 per window. Painless window cleaners charges $25 for each service call plus $15 per window. So you see, Sunshine charges a little bit more to show up, but less per window. Painless charges a little bit less to show up, but a little more per window. So which company would you choose? So, number one, which company would you recommend and why? Prepare an argument to convince Carlos and Clarita that your recommendation is reasonable. It is always more convincing if you can support your claim in multiple ways. How might you support your recommendation using a table, a graph, algebra? Beautiful. Okay, so y equals total cost. So we're going to come up with a cost equation for both Sunshine Express and painless window cleaners. So Sunshine Express, y equals, now again, charges $50 for each service call plus $10 per window. And note up there, $10 per window, we're going to use X for the number of windows, so $10 per window would simply be a 10X. And then they also have the $50 service charge right there. So let's add 50 to that 10X, and that's going to be the total cost for us if we use Sunshine Express. $10 per window plus their $50 service call fee. Now, painless. All right, painless window cleaners charges $25 for each service call plus $15 per window. So the $15 per window, you know you're going to write that 15x, and then the $25 service call fee plus 25. And there's our two cost equations right there. Sunshine Express, y equals 10x plus 50. Painless window cleaners, y equals 15x plus 25. So which company are we going to choose? Well, let's do a little bit of algebra here. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to solve this system of equations. This is two linear equations, and where those two linear equations would intersect on a graph, that would be the solution. All right, and substitution, what does that mean? Well, we have y equals 10x plus 50 and y equals 15x plus 25. Well, if y equals 10x plus 50 and y equals 15x plus 25, doesn't that mean the 10x plus 50 would have to equal the 15x plus 25? And now we simply solve this equation, which is now in one variable. We'll solve for our x. So on the left we have 10x, and on the right we have 15x. Let's get our x's on the same side. So let's subtract the 10x from both sides. Bring down that equal sign there, and you have 10x minus 10x is gone, leaving you a 50. And on the right we have 15x minus 10x is 5x plus the 25. Now isolate this x right here. So let's get rid of that plus 25 by subtracting 25. Bring down the equals, and on the left 50 minus 25 is 25. And on the right we have the 5x, and the 25 minus 25 cancels each other out. So now we have to undo multiplication by 5 with division by 5. All right, equals. Now on the right hand side, the 5's cancel, leaving the factor of x, and I'm going to go and write that on the left if you don't mind. X equals, and what is 25 divided by 5? 5. So they are going to charge the same amount of money if they clean 5 windows. So let's write this as an ordered pair. X equals 5 windows. Now, how much will that cost us? And that's why they call this substitution too. All right, boom, we can now take this 5 and plug it into either equation and solve for y. So let's use the first equation, y equals 10x plus 50. Y equals 10 times, and what's our x? It's a 5. Plus 50 equals, and 10 times 5 is 50, plus 50 more, that would be 100. 100 what? Dollars. So if we get 5 windows cleaned by either company, it's going to cost us $100. Let's go ahead and write that out. Implies each company charges $100 to clean 5 windows. So how can we use that to make our decision? Well, wouldn't that imply our decision would be based upon how many windows we need cleaned? All right, that's number 1. Okay, and again, let's do, we've done a lot of algebra already, and we've got a really good solution right here. But how about we do a little bit of maybe a table and a graph, just for practice. So, here's a window, first quadrant for our graph of this situation, and we only need the first quadrant because our number of windows cannot be negative, nor can our costs. They're not going to pay us to come clean our windows. All right? So what do you want to start with, the table or the graph? How about we start with the table, all right? Because this would be a good review of a few things too. So for y equals 10x plus 50, if x is 0, that'd be 10 times 0, all right, which is 0, and that would leave us the 50. So the y-intercept for Sunshine Express would be 50, as you can see above. All right, now, remember the slope of 10? That's the same thing as a common difference. All right, so let me go back a second. So that means if I clean one window, it's going to be 10 times 1 plus 50, or 60. But this slope right here is a common difference, and think of these y's as a sequence of numbers. The common difference is just going to be 10. So I'm going to go 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110. That's a little more efficient than plugging in each x and solving, but you could do that too. Now, for y equals 15x plus 25, well, the y-intercept is 25 here, so when x equals 0, we have a 25. And now, look at our slope is 15. That means the common difference in this sequence of numbers right there would be 15. So let's go 25, 40, 55, 70, 85, 100, and 115. Boy, when you understand that slope, common difference, correlation, it makes a table pretty efficient for a linear function, you guys. All right, so let's graph now. And remember, when we did substitution on the previous slide, wasn't it 5 windows was $100 for either company? And look at that, we see that in our table right there too. So let's plot the point. When x equals 5, 5 windows will cost us $100 right there. X is 5, y is 100. All right, so when we graph these two lines that are both in slope-intercept form, they should intersect at that point, or we've done something wrong. So let's start with y equals 10x plus 50. The y-intercept is 50. And we could then put a point right there for that 50. You see it in your table right there too. Awesome. And the slope is what? The slope is 10. All right. So let's rise 10 and run 1. And look, our y-axis is scaled by 10s, and our x-axis is scaled by 1s. So I'm going to go up 10 and over 1 and put a point right there. Now, if I draw a ray through these 2 points, if we have done everything correct, it should go through the point 5, 100 as well. And look at that. There is our graph for Sunshine. Okay, now let's do the same thing for Painless, where the y-intercept is 25. You see it here, and you see it in your table down there. 25, well, 5, 10, 15, okay, hang on here, that was by 10s, right? So 10, 20, 30, so 25 would be about right there. Let's get that as close as we can. Good, because we want to see if we go through that point 5, 100 again. Now let's do our slope of 15. Okay, so that means I'm going to rise 15 in run 1. So there's 5, and there's 10 more for 15 in run 1, and I have a point right there. Now let's see if the ray going through those 2 points also goes through 5 100. So I'm going to get out my ruler and very carefully. There it is. And there is a graph of this system. So we have just solved the system y equals 10x plus 50 and y equals 15x plus 25. We just solved it by graphing right there. It's the point where the 2 lines intersect. So on the previous slide, we solved it with substitution. On this slide, we solved it with graphing. We also solved it on a table over there on the right. Wow. There's painless too, by the way. Okay, so I think we can make a pretty good decision right now based upon this graph or this table. So if I need less than 5 windows clean, well, I think I would have to use painless, because look at the painless is below the cost function for sunshine. You also see it in the table. 50 versus 25. Not that we're going to get 0 windows cleaned if they come over. 60 versus 40. 70 versus 55. $80 versus $70. And $90 versus $85. So again, painless is the winner if we're getting less than 5 windows clean. How about greater than 5 windows? Well, then sunshine becomes cheaper. You see how that part of the linear function is below the painless function? And you also see it in the table as well. Sunshine. And if we're getting exactly 5 windows clean, then we could use either company. It really wouldn't matter. It costs us the same. All right? Very cool. Now, number 2, write equations for the following 2 constraints: space and startup costs. Now, we have done that previously, so let's go back in our notes and find those 2 equations. And here they are right here. Space was 24x plus 6y is 360, and startup cost was 80x plus 32y equals 1,280. Remember? All right, let me see. It was $24 24 square feet for a dog run, and 6 square feet for a cat pen, and we had 360 square feet to work with, and the cost was $80 for a dog run, $32 for a cat pen, and they had $1,280 to work with. So now, find where the 2 lines intersect algebraically. Record enough steps so that someone else can follow your strategy. All right, well, let me see. We have done substitution, we have done graphing. This might be a great opportunity to do elimination. Let's see if we're going to use elimination here. No, we're going to use substitution one more time. Okay, that's fine. All right. So substitution, this one, like the last time we used substitution, we had 2 equations in slope-intercept. So we just set y equal to y, and we solved. Now here, if we're going to use substitution, we're going to have to first take one of the equations and solve for one of the variables. So why don't we take our space equation and solve for this y? So 24x plus 6y is 360. If we're going to isolate this y right here, we could subtract the 24x's first and bring down our equals. 24x minus 24x is gone, leaving the 6y's. And on the right, we cannot combine those. Those are not like terms. I'm going to put the x term first. I'm going to say negative 24x plus 360. And now you have to undo multiplication by 6 by dividing both sides by 6. So let's just divide every term by 6, because it looks to me like 6 will go into all of those numbers. All right, and bring down our equals. And now on the left, our factors of 6 cancel, leaving the factor of y. And on the right, we have a negative over a positive is negative, and 6 goes into 24. How many times? Wouldn't that be 4 times? Negative 4, and you still have that factor of x, plus, And how many times does 6 go into 360? That would be a 60. So y is negative 4x plus 60. Now, how about we take the other equation and substitute for y? All right? And you need to put this into the equation you did not use right there. All right? So let's go 80x plus 32 times y. And we just said y in terms of x was negative 4x plus 60. So let's just put a negative 4x plus 60 in that grouping symbol right there. And now let's clean this up. So the first thing we're going to need to do is distribute the 32 to both terms within the parenthesis. So what is 32 times negative 4x? Well, negative 4 times 32 would be, oh my, where is my calculator? All right, well here, I'll use my iPad, and you could probably do this in your head too. All right, but let's be careful here. Negative 4 times 32, give me a second. Calculator, all right, clear. So I have a 4 times 32 is 128, so that would be negative 128x. Okay, and then 32 times 60, 32 times 60 is going to be 1,920. Has to equal the 1,280 right there. Good. All right, now there's a little bit going on here. So now, on the left-hand side, let's combine our x's. I see 80x's minus 128x's. So that's going to be, well, 80 minus 128, that'd be negative 48x's. All right. Now we have to isolate this x right here. So let's get rid of that plus 1920. Subtract 1,920 from both sides, leaving us negative 48x equals 1,280 minus 1920. Let me punch that out on my calculator too. 1,280 minus 1,920, and I'm getting negative 640. Now let's divide. We have to undo this multiplication by negative 48. So let's divide both sides by negative 48. Equals, and on the left, my factors of negative 48 cancel, leaving my x. And on the right, I have a negative over a negative is positive. And what is 640 divided by 48? 640 divided by 48 equals, oh man, I'm getting an ugly decimal, 13.3 repeating. All right, and let's make that into an improper fraction. And if I take my 13 1/3 and make it into an improper fraction, that would be 13 times 3 would be 39 plus one more. That'd be a 40 over 3. Man, a lot of arithmetic on this problem. Okay, or you could have left that 13 1/3 if you wanted to. You could have even written that 13.3 repeating, put a little bar over that 3 at the right. Okay, now with this fraction, I've got to substitute that now into, my simplest equation I see. I think I'd put it right here for this x. Yeah, all right. So let's go y equals negative 4 times 40 over 3 plus 60. All right, and I'm just going to put that into my calculator just the way I see it. I wish I had my regular calculator. I'm doing this on my iPad though. So I wonder if I can put a negative on my iPad. I can, look at that. Negative 4, parenthesis. No, I didn't want that there. So I'll just go times, okay, 40 divided by 3. 40 divided by 3. And then let's just go plus 60. Let me close that and then go plus 60. And what am I getting there? I'm getting 6.6 repeating, or 6 2/3. Now I don't like doing that on the iPad. Let's see how I did. 20 over 3, and let me see. 3 goes into 26 times with a remainder of 2, so that is 6 2/3. And I could have written that 6.6 repeating as well, you guys. Wow, this is a pretty complicated little problem right here. But I hope you're having as much fun as I have. So let's write our ordered pair. And if I'm going to plot these on a graph, I think I'll write the ordered pair as mixed numbers. If I was just looking for the solution, I'd probably leave them as improper fractions. All right, so my x is 13 1/3, and my y is 6 2/3. Okay, and there we go. We've solved that system right there. That's not a very clean problem, by the way. But again, if you just show everything and do your arithmetic carefully, even if you have to crunch out a few things arithmetically on your iPad, go ahead. All right, number 3. Now find the point of intersection for the two time constraints. All right, we have 2 more constraints, and we already found both time constraints for feeding time and pampering time. And we're going to solve this using elimination. All right, so we get to use elimination. So feeding time was 20 times x plus 12 times y is less than or equal to 480. So that was the feeding time constraint. And the pampering time constraint was 20 times x plus 16 times y is less than or equal to 480 also. Okay, so if I remember right, feeding took 20 minutes per dog and 12 minutes per cat every day. And we had 480 minutes total, 6 hours if I remember right. And then pampering, and walking and stuff like that was 20 minutes per dog and 16 minutes per cat. And they also had less than or equal to 480 minutes or 6 hours. So there they are again. Now, elimination is my favorite method for solving a system of equations. And this one is set up really nicely for that. And we're doing the equations here. We're looking for the intersection points, so I don't need the inequalities. All right. Now here's how elimination looks. You set up your 2 equations, and we typically like to use elimination when our equations are in standard form. Ax plus by equals c. Ax plus by equals c. All right. Now, if I subtracted these 2 equations from one another, do you guys see the 20x's over the 20x's? If we subtracted 20x minus 20x, I don't have any x's left. So let's bring down the equal sign, and then we go 20x minus 20x. There's no x's. Let's look at our y's. We'd have 16y's minus the 12y's. That would give us 4y's. And 480 minus 480, that would give me 0. So 4 times y is 0. Doesn't that imply this y would have to be 0? So y is 0. And now we can substitute that 0 for y into either equation, and we'll find our corresponding x coordinate. So let's go 20x plus 12 times y, which we just said was 0, has to equal 480. All right, and that means 20 times x plus 12 times 0 is 0. That's gone. Has to equal 480. And now we divide both sides by 20 to undo this multiplication by 20. So equals, and x equals, let's see, well, again, my factors of 20 canceled, leaving my factor of x. X equals, and how many times does 20 go into 480? So, well, 10 would go into 480 48 times, so 20 would go 24 times if you don't want to use a calculator. And again, you could punch that out right on a calculator. So when x equals 24, y has to equal 0. Let's write our answer as an ordered pair. And again, my x, 24, and my y, 0, right there. Now that is the point where these 2 borderlines for those constraints would intersect right there. Okay, and that would be at what? 24 dogs, 0 cats. Sorry, cats. Wow, that was it. So you guys get your ready, set, go done, and have a great day. Get a hold of me if you need anything. Thank you.